come to order February 7th, 2017 at 5:30 p.m. All rise, please. Repeat after me the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a silent prayer. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Roll call.
Councilman Brown?
Here.
Councilman McGall?
Here.
Councilwoman Moyer?
Here.
Councilman Verano?
Here.
Mayor Milbrand?
Here.
All present and accounted for.
Are there any citizens in the audience this evening who would like to address council? Please step up to the podium, state your name, your address, and state your concerns.
Joe Lashinsky, 518 East Pine Street, Shamokin. This is kind of different for everybody, I guess. I've had 4 guys retire since 2007, police officers. Never heard of a meeting being called to be publicly on option 1, option 2. First, I want to thank Bill, 20 years of service. As a whole, everybody worked together to make that happen. You guys made that right in August last year. I see in there we have option 1, option 2. I haven't really read into a lot of the things here, but I see option 1. I know that was the option that Councilman Brown retired under. A lot of the others retired under. I don't know why this is even an option or a public meeting. He gave a notice almost a month ago. Should have been handled and done back then. I just see it's not, I have never seen this before. I think it's different that an officer has to fight for a pension to retire when it was supposed to be yesterday. And I seen this morning he was working, so I don't know what's going on here, guys, but I think it's strange. But again, thanks, Bill, and thanks to the Shamokin Police Department.
Ron Napoli, 812 North 6th Street, Shamokin. First of all, I want to wish the mayor well. I know he had some health issues, and I'm glad to see you sitting here today. I see option 1 and 2 on your agenda here, and first and foremost, thanks to Bill and his dedicated years of service. I think that's been forgotten last month and throughout the last month, especially with the press. So thank you, Bill. That I'm a little confused about. I know prior chiefs had, I believe it was option 1, right? Yep. Option 2, I'm not sure what the difference would be if you guys had a number in finance. If it's okay, I'd like to ask that question. Number 2, to do all this research, it does cost attorney fees. Am I correct in asking that question? It does. Do you happen to know what the running tab is on the attorney fees for investigating the retirement of Officer Minor? Does anybody have that number?
Not right offhand.
Would it be safe to say it's about $20,000 to $25,000?
In regards to Mr. Minor?
Perhaps.
No, I'm sorry.
So maybe half. Just another quick question,
I
because
could provide you at a later time.
that'd be great. Just so that I have it for my own, my own thoughts. But one of the final questions that I have before, hopefully I can get the answer between option number 1 and number 2 is, you retired from the school, Bill, and you had to go through PZERS in order to find out, what your eligibility would be. And they get back to you rather quickly. And they house hundreds of thousands of employees. And Dan, I think you recently retired from the state, right? 5 years ago, recent. But when you got, you did your estimate, you walked fairly quickly, correct?
Turned my notice in on a Tuesday, and Saturday I walked out the door.
So that's pretty impressive. We're dealing with a city that has a lot less employees. And not to throw anybody under the bus or under the microscope, but shouldn't he have had his estimate within a reasonable amount of time so that he could have made a decision instead of now having to rescind his retirement, which I'm glad you did, and I'm glad you're still on the force, because he'd be lost without you. Oh, you will be on the agenda. Yeah, I think you will be. nobody's gonna let you go for 20 years of service. If they do, it's a travesty. But, so for the record, is it possible that you guys are able to share the difference between option 1 or 2, or do you have to brief for an executive to answer that question? And if Mr. Minor's willing to allow everybody to share that information, would you do it while Mr. Minor's present?
Well, that's the question, would you want us to share?
Mr. Minor, would you be willing to share the difference between option number 1 and 2 if they're willing to share it with the public?
I'm not sure if it's what I have, so I don't know. I mean, I'd like to review it.
Would you rather do it with them behind closed doors, or would you rather let the public find out?
Yeah,
Okay. I think maybe.
I still want to respect these guys.
I got it, but I mean, if it's what I'm thinking, between, Act 47's plan and our city's plan, it could equate to 5 figures a year, which could be life-changing money. And if we're talking 5 figures a year, would any of you be willing to take a 5-figure-a-year pay cut? And if the answer to that question is yes, then can I ask for a loan? Because if you're willing to take a 5-figure-a-year pay cut, then obviously you're in the right business for basically volunteering your time. The man's put in 20 years of service. Let's not forget that. We can walk down the street and our lives are safe because of guys like him and the other boys in blue in the back. So with that said, if you don't want to share that with the public, let's think, that's a difference of 5 figures a year. And if any one of you can retire, that's 5 figures a year, more power to you. I got at least 45 more years of work in me. I have no other choice. But with him on the street, until you guys start hiring some rookies, these guys need to train them. I don't feel comfortable with my kid living in this area right now and growing up in this area. So you guys got to do me a favor and at least make me feel comfortable knowing that I live in Shamokin, my son's going to grow up here, and hopefully be a legacy. All right? Thanks, guys.
Anyone else care to address council?
My name's David Sage, I live in Cole Township, everybody here knows me. First of all, I'd like to, whatever best wishes to Bill, whatever outcomes are. But I didn't come here tonight to talk about that, I saw it was open for other concerns. My concerns are the street, the city of Shamokin. Considering Shamokin Street, Bear Valley Avenue, and Market Street. I would like to thank those gentlemen here that have taken the steps to see that these problems are corrected. But also out on Bear Valley Avenue, there's a no parking between sign zone. They took one of them signs down, it's been down for quite a while now, and it seems nobody put it back up. What's that?
What was the number of that address,
It's
approximately?
out on Bear Valley Avenue, there's a sharp curve in the road. Myself and some other people fought for 4 years to get those signs erected, and now we're back to no parking zone.
They were taken down by the waterline project?
Yeah, I don't know who, I didn't actually see him do it. I hate to stand here and accuse anybody without proof, but I don't know of anybody that else has done this. And, and the other thing is, there are guys that are employed by PennDOT that issue permits. I wouldn't let them off the hook with this either. Those guys have a job to do, they're obviously not doing it. Because, these guys are like a bunch of rogues where they're working right now, the people are suffering for it. So everybody needs to beef up on that.
Okay, Dave, at the last meeting, I did address that. I wasn't available, but Bob Slavy, the city foreman, did go out. They met with Aqua, okay? They've seen what was wrong. It's going to be addressed and corrected. And going forward, and with the council support and the mayor, and hopefully the public, we are going to look at that ordinance and amend it. So hopefully the people of Shamokin won't have to go through this no more. We need to put some stronger teeth in the ordinance, is what's got to happen.
And not only that, you need to address it with these people from PennDOT, and if they don't want to fulfill our obligations, we have Mr. Gordon's office right up here on the highway, Mr. Mosser in Amesburg.
Yep.
You know,
I've
start
talked
calling
to
them.
Mr. Moss's office, yes.
Because this is ridiculous,
I
that this
agree.
is going on.
I agree.
This is going on, this is long without any,
Mr. Sage, if I could just add to what he's saying, I attended the pre-conference for Market Street and also Shamokin Street, which the state doesn't oversee,
Right.
Shamokin, as they did there. And I heard the representatives from PennDOT explicitly tell the contractor that if it gets messy in the middle of the winter, they expect it to get fixed.
well, that's.
And that's the part that I try to, as the city's representative, hold them to. And PennDOT, look, I have my feelings about PennDOT just like everybody else does, okay? But they have assured us 100% cooperation in dealing with the contractor, just like I went down on behalf of the city the other day to Shamokin Street and had a conversation with the city street foreman, with Aqua, who is overseeing the project because it's at their request and so forth. And the contractor apparently saw it in the paper. They started fixing Shamokin Street temporarily, okay, where there's no craters in the middle of the street. They started fixing it that morning, and they were making nice progress. But getting back to the PennDOT thing, you know, I have to defend them to a certain degree, but I know what you're talking about. I drive out there also, okay, all the way up Market Street, and there's been some nasty holes, and it is. And I think the best thing the city of Shamokin can do is seriously look into what he's talking about and what some of the others have also discussed, and that is prohibiting any digging of streets in the city of Shamokin during the wintertime.
Can't do it.
And that's great, and I want to make one thing clear, I didn't come here tonight to accuse any
No,
people of
no,
doing
I
anything.
understand.
But one thing is, I think is perfectly clear, Mr. Slavy, PennDOT lied to you. I mean, if you look out there as to how this has been going on, and what those streets are like, they obviously have failed to fulfill their obligation to the assurances that they gave you. You go out there, I mean, myself and my daughter, we just put over $1,500 in new tires and friend under alignments and stuff like that for our cars. And then to stop and talk to these people and try to reason with them, and they tell you, hey, find another route, that's not a problem. But, you know, PennDOT also needs to step up to the plate here. And even though it's a PennDOT project, it's still going through your city.
Oh, sure.
You know,
Sure,
and
absolutely.
again, I'm not here to try to point fingers at any of you people. I'm here to thank you for what you're trying to do.
But when you look at it, the city council, the mayor, myself, and everybody that works for the city, you know, we're the ones you have to tell, because you can't get that close to the PennDOT inspectors and so forth down there. So you need to come, you need to tell us, you need to vent your situation, your experiences. And I certainly, again, I just had a meeting last Thursday, and I expressed concern. Although I wasn't up at that part last Thursday, I was down in this area, and I was the whole entire length of Shamokin Street. I will once again reiterate to the Aqua people, that, once again, the complaints keep coming here to City Hall. And I know you live out there and you've got to travel that, and, you know, I sympathize with you.
And I mean, I tried calling these guys from PennDOT for one reason. The chief can attest to and so can John, about the time I was getting from the then city council saying that's a PennDOT problem. Then when I go to PennDOT would say, that's a city of Shamokin problem. You know,
I beg to differ on that.
No, I'm not saying it is your problem, let's not confuse the issues here. But I mean, it was just trying to, let's get both people working together to a happy solution, that's it. But that's all I'm asking for. And again, go back, one among two people, you know, and it's just that them people from PennDOT should not be left off the hook.
Dave, it's not fair to the citizens, I totally agree with you, but we gotta get this ordinance. The solicitor was sick last week, and the mayor and the council all agreed, we are gonna take action.
Well,
And it's gonna get corrected.
And I'm not here to try to argue with you, Charlie, but the ordinance should not need to be incorporated to have people fulfill their responsibilities. There shouldn't even be an ordinance that would even be entertained for that. I mean, however, I'm glad you're doing it. But under ordinance,
shot to work.
they're violating
It is.
everything else. because.
I'm not gonna disagree with you.
Yeah.
The contractors, and I said it publicly last week, the contractors Aqua hired, that the work they did is horrendous. I totally agree with you. It's not
You
fair.
up there by Dookie's now
It's bad.
to turn off, that's horrendous, if you get a chance tomorrow.
I
Well,
will.
they put the heat on
Oh, I
today.
definitely will. I
Okay.
definitely will,
Okay.
and I will be on the
Well,
phone with Aqua, the
Yes,
representative
we
that
can.
I deal with, who is in charge of construction. I definitely will pass your
Hang
comments
on.
on
That's fine.
to them tomorrow morning.
Yeah, you can use my name too, I don't care, you know. Okay, thanks.
All right, is there anyone else?
Hello, my name is Brian J. Christiana, 301, 303 South Diamond Street in Shamokin. What I'd like to ask is, I'd like to go on record, but before I do that, I'd like to say thanks, Bill, for everything that you've done for us, whether you stay on or move on in retirement. I just want you to know that there's been a lot of prayers going out that things work out in your favor and in the favor of us, because you being with us would totally be the best thing for our city. Thank you. My question is this. I'd like to know, and I'd like to go on record asking this question, what committees and subcommittees are available in our city for dealing with issues, specifically, the three issues that I'd specifically like to ask are the illegal sale of narcotics in our area. The second one would be for what we're doing to attract business, infrastructure, industry. And then the third one that I wanted to ask about is obviously something Dave was just speaking about, like how we're cleaning up our area, our city, our streets, and our homes. But I'd also like to have any other information regarding any and all committees that are available here in the city, because I'd like to look into joining these committees and being a part of trying to help.
Mr. Cristiano, if it would be okay with you, I'll be glad to sit down with you in my office and share whatever committees there are,
Best off.
the term, how long they are, in regards to the subject of properties, okay? I can bring the code enforcement officer along with Mr. Brown, who oversees that, and I'll be glad to sit with you, sir.
Thank you.
If you would for me, before you leave, just, you and I will touch base so I can get a phone number from you,
Sure.
okay?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
All right, Stephen Druckenmiller, 715 Sunbury Street. I have a couple questions. One, I'd like to start off by talking about the house that's next to me. From my understanding, Mayor, you gave precise instruction to the fire chiefs not to do anything to the house unless it caused harm to, physical harm to my house or an adjoining house, or unless it came out into the road.
No, I did not give those instructions to the fire chief. I absolutely did not give those, and we never had that discussion. We tried very hard, if you recall, to get the resident out of the adjoining house of that double home and get her to move.
I remember
Up to another home that she owns up on Pearl Street. And we tried to get her out of there, and we thought that we were this close to getting her out. And we had an issue with there was some sort of an issue with a sewer bill that she had to rectify up in the other home. She wasn't willing to do that and chose not to leave that home. And it's going to be very hard. We'd love to get that house down.
So,
Get it out of the problem, but until we can get her out of there, and I just don't know how we're going to do it.
well,
We've
as far as that goes, is there a paper trail from there until now on what you have done? Have you cited her for anything?
Without the code officer being here.
You haven't.
I don't.
I know you
haven't.
haven't. I talked to Rick about it. You haven't.
Well, then you have your answer.
I'm just saying, I mean, if you can't expect things to get done I mean, you run a business.
Mhm.
You understand things get done, there's a paper trail.
Mhm.
You have to put things in motion in order to get a result. And if things aren't in motion, this isn't just going with Rick. We're passing ordinances, do we have an ordinance officer to enforce them?
Rick takes it.
Rick is the code officer,
Yes.
not the ordinance officer. So as far as an ordinance
There
goes,
isn't.
I was an ordinance officer for Zerby Township. An ordinance is different than code.
Well, to my knowledge, there has never been an ordinance officer in the city.
Well, I mean, we keep passing ordinances and there's nobody to enforce them.
The code enforcement officer has a right to enforce it, the police have a right to enforce
It's
it.
not a criminal act.
The
We
police,
enforce ordinances.
You expect the two cops that are on duty, these poor guys are busting their ass, pardon my language, but you expect these guys to come out when a piece of shingle falls and hits my car. Do you know what I mean? There's how much stuff going on in town. I'm not gonna call him and complain to him and expect him to come out for that. You know what I mean? Nor should you guys. Nor should you guys expect Rick. I mean, Brownie's doing everything he can to support Rick. And it's just the two of them. But we keep passing ordinances, but there's nobody enforcing the ordinances. Because there's no ordinance. I mean, it's in black and white. It's in black and white. There's code, there's zoning, and then there's ordinances. And it seems in the past 90 days, all we're passing is ordinances. Ordinance after ordinance, and there's not a single person that is part of this group that can do anything about it. If I got a ticket for an ordinance violation, I can rip it up and throw it in the trash, because there's nobody who can enforce it.
There you go.
Amen.
you
What's
might
the
have
matter?
Been fighting for
in
7
regards to
months.
which ordinances, sir?
Any ordinance.
Okay, you said that we're passing ordinances. The two ordinances that have been passed recently in the last 90 days,
Tell us
one
like
has
shit.
to do on the recommendation of the chief of police.
Very good point.
There's another ordinance in regards to, which we're required by law when it comes to any kind of borrowing of money for whatever purpose, you have to adopt an ordinance. And the landlord-tenant policy. If you have a
And who enforces that?
the code enforcement officer, just like the code enforcement officer does in a number of communities, including the community of Berwick, in which it's been tested from front to back page.
And Berwick is a prime example of an A-OK town, right? That's what we want to be, that's our aim.
You're trying to lure me into a debate.
Sir, I don't want to debate you,
I'm
because it wouldn't
answering
be a
your
debate.
question in regards to the ordinances.
The simple fact is that if ordinances are being passed legally, nobody that is part of the city has a right to enforce the ordinance.
Yes, they do. The code enforcement officer can enforce an ordinance.
And does.
And does.
The code enforcement is a
exactly.
code enforcement officer.
No, you got it all wrong. I think you need to,
I was an ordinance officer.
well, maybe they call it something different in Zerby Township, but in Shamokin, our code enforcement officer enforces, or the police department enforces the ordinance.
See, as far as I know, the police enforce criminal
Now, this
activity.
is,
And there's 2 cops on duty. These guys are ran thin as it is. I'm not trying to be confrontational.
Is it in the description, job description?
That's why the city looks like a shithole.
Weren't you asked to be the ordinance officer, Steve?
No.
Listen, keep it to these guys up here. Let them answer the questions. That's what they're sitting there for.
They're, as far as we're concerned in Shamokin, here in the city, as far as I know, and without any further research into this matter, the code enforcement officer or the police department enforces all our ordinances.
All right, I think
And
that
that's
needs to
the
be
answer we can
researched
give
more.
you. And if we can research it and we find out something different, we'll certainly be in contact with you and we'll look into that matter.
And
Never heard of it either.
the other issue I have is the property next to me, is there's nothing being done. And what I'm told is that when it was owned by an individual who bought it on tax sale from New York, that it was too much of a hassle to track him down. Okay, so there's no roof to the house. You've been there, you've been in my backyard, you can see right up there.
Mr. Youngman, can I stop you there? Who told you that? Who told you they could not track them down? Can you please tell everybody that? Because I'd like to know. Who told you that?
Rick,
Rick Bozza, our code officer, told you that?
the mayor,
It, sometimes, some of the property owners are very difficult to track down. We have some right here in the
I
area.
gave you his name, address, and phone number. I gave you all the information that was needed to track him down. I offered to go to New York myself, because I'm losing property value. I sided my house 7.5 years ago, except for that side. I have new windows throughout my whole house, except for on that side. And I've been dealing with this since the day I moved in. I've tried to buy the house, I've went back and forth, it's getting taken care of, Edie's out, she's not allowed back in, this is what's going on, and then it's a whole nother story the next time we have a conversation. You know?
And we were working with the county and everybody else to try and make that happen, you know that.
Yeah.
I know, but it came to a screeching halt.
You're right, and if you find a way that I can force her to get out, you let me know what it is.
But that's not my job, Mr. Mayor, that's your job.
I understand that, and we've exhausted all of our possibilities to try and get her out.
But you don't feel that way if you just ask me to find a way.
Well, I'm saying, we've exhausted all of our efforts.
What about the city solicitor?
What would you have me do?
Well, would you be the person who would look up the laws?
And we have.
And the fact that there's no paper trail since it goes back to Barry, there's no citations, there's no gutter on our house.
If your house is in violation of the code, it should be condemned, it should be moved.
Absolutely.
And that's what they get, is it?
It is,
Well then,
it is.
I think in Mr. Boz's defense, I would suggest that you come to our regular scheduled meeting next Monday and continue this. I mean, he's not here. You're saying this and that about him. I don't think it's fair to him.
I talked to Rick, I talked to Rick at Turkey Hill before I came here.
Wow.
Turkey Hill.
And his words are his hands are tied. The fire chief's words are their hands are tied. They're doing what they were told to do.
Who gave them them orders, Mr.? That's what I'm asking. Can you tell us?
What I was told?
Yes, as a councilman
The mayor.
Shamokin, I'm asking you, I'm not being confrontational. I want to know who told you. I want to know.
Rick,
Rick Bozza told you,
two fire chiefs,
and the two fire chiefs.
okay?
And they said they could do nothing.
Correct.
Without any council member or the mayor knowing anything about this?
They said that the mayor told them not to do anything.
No. Who told you that?
See.
I just
Who
told
told
you.
you that? Rick told you that?
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Rick,
Okay.
Excuse me a second.
I will look into that because
I'm not disputing you.
Rick
All
told you
I'm-
that, and who else told you that?
Mr. Lashinsky just said, let us answer. I want some answers also, and I'm asking you the question. Who told you that? Did Rick Bozza tell you that or not?
Rick
That's
and
what I'm
who else?
asking you. Even
who
though
else?
Rick is in here, I'm not trying to put him in
And who
a,
else?
did he tell you?
2 fire chiefs.
Which
And the 2 fire
chiefs?
chiefs.
I don't know. When,
What's that?
Well, if you don't know who they are, how do you know who they
Wait.
are?
We have Rick Bozza who got a raise under Act 47. I've been coming since September.
No, wait, you
Five
don't have the
days.
floor.
Hold
You don't have the
Joe,
floor.
please.
He has the floor right now.
Please, you and
I
Rob.
have
No, I need
nothing,
to
I
know.
have absolutely nothing against Rick. I
Well, I
think
need
Rick
to know-
is doing
Listen.
everything that he possibly can.
You made a statement that the fire chief told you that I instructed him to do
Whoa, whoa.
nothing. I need to know who that fire chief is.
Mr. Druckenmiller.
I can get
Wait,
you
wait, wait, wait.
Absolutely.
I need to know.
Mr. Druckenmiller, I'm not being rude either. I'm sitting here, the public's asking, I need to know. You're telling me something, I want to know when it was told to you and what was said and by who. You tell me. Now I'm asking you. Since everybody's putting us in a hot seat, I want to know.
I just told you.
You said he told you that. And does he have documentation of this? Where's this house ever cited? He told you it's
And
too much,
that's
no, wait
why-
a minute, leave me finish. He told you it's too much work to look into getting this property on. Rick, I mean, I'm not trying to throw Rick under the bus either. I'm just getting to the facts. Because I'm sick of this. I need to know what's going on. And you're telling me.
Rick, in the mirror, both said, in the mirror just admitted to saying that it was too much of a hassle to track down the
No,
property.
I said sometimes
No,
it's
that ain't getting
difficult
this
to
solved.
find
That
property.
ain't getting this solved.
I come here and I complain about this property because it's costing me money, I can't finish my house. This is the only thing I complain about.
Mr. Druckenmiller,
This is the only thing I come here to talk about.
I understand.
And nothing gets done.
You're saying that. As a councilman, I'm asking you these questions. I need to know. I'm not here 24/7. And you came to a public meeting, so I'm asking you what went on. That's all I'm asking you. You give me the facts. We'll get you some answers. But we need to know the facts.
We need to know who.
Us 5 up here need to know the facts. We're not here night and day. You people come to us, we try to do our job. Okay? So you're telling me something, I need to know all the facts. And then we'll get you this
And if
answer.
you're making a statement
Right.
that I told them not to do
We need to know.
anything, first of all, I'm telling you it's wrong, and I want to know
Well,
who made that statement, because I'm
I
going to
do
go to
too.
them.
This is ridiculous.
The second to last time that part of the roof fell and glass fell into my backyard, you came running down
I was
Bunker
there.
Hill and said, no, stop. Those were your words. If I had a video camera, I could play it back. Those were your words.
Well,
Stop. Don't put the ladder up. Don't look. There's nothing we can do.
No, I never made that statement. I'll tell you what, there was enough witnesses there that day, and I can name you every one of them. Jason Zimmerman, Rick Bozza, Brian Permerano, they were all there that day, and I remember that very well.
Okay?
And plus the members of the rescue fire department. So what I'll do is I'll approach every one of them to find out, and you can go with me. If I made those comments, that's not true. In fact, I did a lot of legwork to try and get that woman moved out of there so that we could do actually look into ripping down that house. And I did a lot of legwork, I made a lot of calls to the county to try and get her moved out of there and everything else. And I cannot help that she refuses to leave her house.
But you guys did have her on.
Okay, yeah, well, we could debate this all night, and we all know what the facts are.
Seriously, sir.
Let me contact these fire chiefs and Rick, and we'll find out tomorrow morning, first thing, what the situation is here, because I want to know where they